Welcome to another episode of Quadruple KO today. We have a very special guest, BabeRuthless. We're going to talk about fighting games and their stages and backgrounds, but then a bunch of news had to happen as well. So we're going to be doing some double duty. But how is everyone today? Max, Justin, Babe, what has been going on? How are you guys all doing this fine week?
Justin's on Mars.
He's on Mars again.
It's 12 a.m. But you know, we about the grind life. But I just gotta say, Miss Ruthless, your sweatshirt is super awesome.
Oh shit! Thank you.
The gem fighters, right? Pocket fighters.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks so good.
Yeah, that's sick. I've always loved that artwork.
Yeah.
For the audio style listeners, it's like the main artwork from Gem Fighters. Is that official or is that like a fan made thing or what?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's official.
It's official.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got it from like a vendor in I think the MagFest Artist Alley. So I don't know if they were officially selling it. But yeah, Pocket Fighter is one of my favorite fighting games ever. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's not official because it's in the Artist Alley. But yeah.
I have a question. BR, did you play the mobile Pocket Fighter puzzle game that came out several years ago?
What, the puzzle fighter one?
I heard it wasn't very good.
Yes. Okay.
It's the pay to win puzzle fighter game.
Yeah, I think that was.
I like asking people about this weird ass version of Puzzle Pocket Fighter, and it's like, yeah, does anybody remember this thing that just sort of breezed in and breezed out real fast?
Because it was the last game that was made by Capcom Vancouver right after they did Dead Rising 4. So it was their last thing, and then they were just,
the end of Capcom Mobile.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, on paper.
Wait, they got Monster Hunter now. They got Monster Hunter puzzle game on mobile.
Well, that's made by, who makes Monster Hunter now? It's some massive mobile company. Yeah, it's like Niantic or something. So it wasn't made in-house at all.
That's the company that did Pokemon Go, right?
Yeah,
Pokemon Go. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but there's another Monster Hunter puzzle game. It's like Candy Crush Monster Hunter.
Where you break colored gems.
Yeah, you break colored gems and then you rebuild houses from the monsters.
You're thinking of Puzzle or Dungeon or what the heck's that? Puzzles and Dragons? What the hell? That's the same thing, right?
No, it's not. It's
Justin is pulling up his phone.
Oh my god.
I have the game because I played it and I was super into it for at least
He's pulling up his phone so he can pull Monster Hunters.
It's called Monster Hunter Puzzle. Look, see, it's Capcom. You see the little Capcom logo?
Dude, even Capcom doesn't even know about that, Justin.
Yeah,
you're discovering things in front of our eyes right now.
It's called Monster Hunter Puzzle Feline Isles.
Nice.
There you go. They're tying it into Monster Hunter Wilds, yes.
So slightly back on track. Capcom themselves announced something that we were all expecting at Gamescom, which is, of course, the Terry Bogard gameplay trailer. And I'm going to be honest, what a load of crap. It did not look like the hypest thing at all. No references to Neo Geo or SNK. Just nothing. Terry has no sauce. So moving on. And on the SNK, no, please.
Are you okay? Are you okay, Matt?
You know what offends me the most about the Terry reveal is that I feel bad for Terry. Everyone forgot that he actually has a big nose. And everyone's like, what's with this guy's big nose? And I'm like, he has literally always had a big nose in artwork. And in the anime, he has a huge nose.
Well,
Stop making fun of Terry's big nose.
It's an anime nose. Plus, Shinkiro drew the Mel Gibson face over and over again. Maybe that's what people... He's like, oh, no, he didn't. He just looked like everybody else. But I think in the subsequent games, they started to make him...
Yeah, he definitely had his pronounced facial features, and one of them of which was his big nose. Stop shaming the poor guy.
But yeah, in all honesty, though, I think this is Smash Bros. Levels of loving the character that you're putting in the game. It's probably the most I've seen in a game since Smash, guest inclusions and things. And it's this is the first time Capcom's done this in Street Fighter. So, I don't know what we're expecting, but I don't think we're expecting all of this.
I don't think we
Miss
were expecting a lane change.
Miss Ruthless, what did you think of this before we hop into lane changes?
No, I thought it was really cool. Like, typically, my thing is typically not so much talking about gameplay as it is like talking about like all the things besides gameplay. But I think it's really cool that they included so many of his legacy moves. Like, I'm glad the Rising Tackle is in there. And like, you know, Vega with his kind of like claw, wait, what is it called? Like the cage grab move kind of did like a similar thing. So I don't know. I think it's really cool.
I mean, for me personally, it's just like, you know, we've talked about Rising Tackle before, but now Rising Tackle is now on the upper echelon of fighting game moves because it's now his level 3. And this brought me back. Do you guys remember this where Capcom was talking about collaborating with SNK? And they said we had long conversations about what is a Rising Tackle. This was like a few months ago. And they called that move out specifically. And I was like, wow, that's just a funny anecdote. But it's like, no, it's because this is level 3. This new level 3 called Rising Fang. And I'm like, holy shit, I couldn't believe it. That and all the shenanigans with the level 3, not level 3, but like using drive meter to put into his power geyser.
Yeah, he has 3
That's some
supers on
crazy
his level
stuff.
2.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Because when
That's
we're all
really cool.
watching the gameplay trailer and you see him do a regular power geyser, you're like, okay, that makes sense. And then you see him do the triple one, you're like, wait, what? How? Then the Buster Wolf are like, how is this working exactly?
Yeah, I think it breaks down to level 2 single hit power geyser, level 2 with some drive gauge, 2 power geysers, level 2 some drive gauge, and also your third bar, 3 power geysers. So it's like okay, so he technically has 5 supers. Cool. All right, I'll take it.
And 7 special moves now.
He's very special.
Because now Power Dunk is like a target combo.
Yeah,
Like,
target
it's-
combo.
I mean, that's a way to do it because I don't think any other motion is available anymore.
Yeah.
But we also saw Pao Pao Cafe 6, which is a funny way to do it. And I saw in Event Hubs, Pao Pao Cafe is the stage that is crossed over into the most games in history. Like between all the SNK games and all the Fatal Furies and all the KOFs, like it's the one that's been the most. And Capcom versus SNK.
Yep.
I always forget the dragon one is in Pao Pao Cafe.
Oh,
Yeah, the big dragon head in CVS 1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
one's super cool.
At when me and Justin were in your video about stages, Ruthless, I was like, oh, I really want to maybe talk about that Pao Pao Cafe stage because that one's so cool. When Max and Justin and I always talk about like all those stage intros for Capcom versus SNK 1, and that one has such a cool one. You start on the dragon eyes and then it pulls out. But this one's looking pretty cool and having a lot of now. I want some theory crafting here. Did Pao Pao Cafe open up a location in Metro City? Is that what this stage is?
You know, it could be a chain restaurant, just like how other chain restaurants are.
Oh, it's,
It could also be-
it's the TGI Fridays of KOF.
It could be
I
in,
like
it could
this.
be in Chinatown where Chung Li and Jamie are at.
There's
It
a lot of
very
Final
well-
Fight references in there.
Yeah. Because Poison and some cronies are singing. So I think, yeah, this is like going to be in Metro City's Chinatown because the China-looking stage that you see in Street Fighter 6, I don't think that takes place in Metro City at all. That's like actually across the globe, like when that stage opens up.
Across the globe, yeah. Okay.
Is it
Like
in
that-
Chinatown though? Because like even the food looks like what they would like, like a Final Fight, like the big ass chicken and stuff like that on the floor. So
Maybe you're
I mean,
right.
like,
Because that
eat in
doesn't
the
have
tower.
its own. Does anyone know where you meet Aki in World Tour mode? Like, is she in?
She's
She's
in
Yeah, I think-
Chinatown.
she's in the
That's Chi-
Chinese stage.
She's in
China
Chinatown?
Street.
the Chinese
Yeah.
restaurant.
Okay. But yeah, like seeing that was my theory here because we all asked, how is Terry going to get to Metro City? He's going to take
took
a
a taxi.
taxi. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. He took a
That's-
taxi.
And what his backstory said that CVS 1 and 2 happened.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
it's-
I read that. That's lore now. That's pretty cool.
How did that happen?
Andy wrote it. That's why.
They chose for it to happen, and it was a choice.
I guess so. The only other thing I can think of that's just like not story lore, that's more like it's been 20 years since Terry has clashed with Street Fighter characters. Like a narrator is breaking the fourth wall. I'm not saying like story wise. It's just like he's just never been to Metro City and he takes a cab. I just thought that was hilarious. But stage itself looks really awesome. We have a lot of background characters in the traditional style of many crossover games. There's Joe, there's Blue Mary. I think that was it on the SNK side. Did anyone see anybody else?
No, I think Joe and Blue Mary are the two cameos.
Yeah.
There might be some other like minor Capcom Street Fighter characters, but they gave them nod in like the PlayStation blog or something like that.
Oh wait, I forgot about the biggest one, Duck King's Ducks.
What
was it? Is that
you
that
didn't
really
see
his
this?
Ducks? No,
Is that
really
the
his Ducks?
City of the Wolves stage?
That is in that one of those City of the Wolves stage, right. Terry's stage, the train. But you guys didn't see on the back left part of Pao Pao Cafe 6, if you break open the barrels, a bunch of little yellow ducks shoot out.
Well, it makes
sense. They're in the barrels.
It makes sense. It's a Chinese restaurant, so yeah.
but at the same time, it's like could you not have had Duck King there? Duck King, a regular of Pao Pao Cafe, but
there should have been some rando like create a character in the background just doing Duck King's dance.
Yeah.
Literal like idol pose.
I saw someone say that Kim is there and flies across the stage with like a big fart cloud shooting out of his butt. I don't know if this is true because it's a thing that happens in Fatal Fury 2 or Fatal Fury Special. You'll see a flying Kim.
Yep, I saw.
But I don't know. I have not seen
live
evidence
footage from Gamescom type of thing.
Yeah, I think so. I saw someone say that, but I don't know if it was a joke or not. But I didn't see footage of it.
Don't believe in Gamescom.
Yes,
everyone went to town. They're like, "Oh my God, throw loops are gone." It's a 1.1 million view clip, and then the guy tweets an hour later, "Never mind, throw loops is there. I'm just bad on pad." So I don't believe anything from Gamescom unless it's just video evidence, like the colors. Like I believe that. That's about it.
I'm not mad at that guy because that is something I would 100% do. Like that would be like me just like, "Oh yeah, I found this thing. Oh wait, no, sorry everyone, I'm just me." And
there's some funny stuff that's popping up because there's just today, like within the last hour, somebody dropped some footage of Gamescom Terry, and his character select screen is him playing an MVS cabinet with his back to the cabinet, all hunched over and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, he's got my back problems. This is where all my back problems came from, playing stand-up arcade machines. And I'm like, we could find out canonically how tall Terry is. And I'm calling it right now. I think he's 6'2".
That sounds good to me. Because in the anime, he's like sitting down at the like Astro Mini or whatever. Like
yes.
He's sitting like, so you don't know. Did you see what games he's playing?
I cannot tell. This Twitter footage sucks.
No, someone was able to find it. He's playing King of the Monsters, which is like, mwah, love you, Terry. And Savage Rain.
Sick.
Like, not even Kazuna Encounter. Savage Rain, like the one that's not as good.
That's so random.
It's so random, Terry. Maybe those were the two games on the machine and that was all he had.
Yeah, maybe. But you know what I bet it is? I bet it's like Sakurai, where Sakurai's like, I really like this specific game, so I'm going to put references to that.
Oh, yeah.
So whoever on the Capcom side is like, oh, my favorite SNK games are Savage
Yeah,
Rain.
it's like a Matsumoto-san or Nakayama is like, oh, I love these games. Make him play those.
Oh my God.
Or because they're showcasing those games, what if the next fighting pass, you get those games in the arcade?
That's what's in Terry's pass? Yeah.
That would be cool, right?
I don't see why not. I would like King of the Monsters 2 and Kazuna Encounter, not like the lesser versions of those. That's just me. So yeah, lots of we're gonna have to wait until PAX West to like really see people lab with Terry. I'm assuming, Justin, you are included in that. You might be doing that, yeah?
Yeah, I will go to PAX West and report accurate information. Yes.
Okay, good. Report whether Kim is flying across the screen. So with that, we also got a bunch of City of the Wolves things. Can't spend forever on this because the one City of the Wolves trailer, not the My trailer, which she looks amazing. I really like this new costume. But guess what? If you don't like that new costume, you can just take it into color and texture edit mode. I didn't see, Justin, do you have a reaction? Do you have a reaction for this? I saw Max's, where I think out of the entire trailer, Max screamed the most at color edit.
Of course. It's back.
Crazy.
Like, it's been since CVS 2.
I didn't know there was a Japanese version of the trailer that had all that information. I only saw the My trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, so
for the
you're
color
right,
edit.
Justin, because at Gamescom, they pretty much show like a My trailer. And then
that's
on SNK's YouTube channel, within the same minute, they release a completely different trailer that's 2 minutes that has this 90s AF announcer guy.
Yeah.
Welcome to SNK and Fatal Fury, Brock the Showdown, and like all this crazy stuff.
Rev it up.
They go over like a ton of features that are in the game, including like the Alpha 3 like World Tour and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This big Bone Storm energy, that guy, that announcer.
Yes.
Yeah, tell your folks, buy me Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, or go to hell. But yeah, like tons of stuff there as well. The jukebox mode, the RPG mode, which I not called, but in my preview of City of the Wolves a few months back, I said like it would be cool if there was a mode where you just go around the map of Southtown and just do little missions, and that seems to be exactly what it is. So that's cool. Seems like most of the cinematic stuff though will just be in arcade mode, but I'm glad that they're doing it. But we also saw like a bunch of stages for previous City of the Wolves trailers. We saw Terry's stage, which has a recycled danger barrel from the Metal Slug stage from KOF 15. But Duck King's ducks are there too, so that was cool. We saw Hotaru Futaba's stage, which is just her stage from Garo 1, just from a different angle and like a different distance, like you're not in the belfry. So that was cool to see. I think we saw another one. T-Zoc has that really sick
Big wrestling stage
with Raiden in the background.
Yeah.
So Raiden deconfirmed. Also, Bob Wilson deconfirmed because he was also in my stage, I think.
Well, also, I haven't counted them so far, but they told us 17 character launch with a very weird, very confusing message in terms of how the game is being distributed with its first DLC season of characters, which ends up being very generous, to be completely honest, but is confusing. But yeah, 17 characters. So I haven't counted how many we've seen so far, but we got to be getting close to like at least 13 or 14, right?
Yeah, I think we're at 12.
5, 6. I think right now we're at
Maybe 12? 10 or 10 to 12 maybe. So there's we still got like
around there.
And then they showed the release date, which is April of next year. So we got like 8 more
that's so
months of
late.
waiting.
It's a while.
Yeah, that's pretty late. Yeah.
Yeah, because they kept saying early 2025, and I always think a quarterly.
right?
Well, a quarterly, I think in my head, January to March is early because that's the first quarter of the year, and like April is like that's kind of mid of the year. But a new stage with every old character that we're gonna see, and I think they've caught up. I think the characters that they've shown in older trailers, Rock, Terry, T-Zoc, Hotaru, they're all caught up, and we've already seen the stages for. Yeah, the Capricha has that science, which she looks so out of place.
Yeah, she does. We're going to have to take bets because they also announced jukebox mode with like a ton of old Fatal Fury music that you can use. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have to take bets if Robert Miles' rock theme is going to return. Robert Miles' children rock theme from Galro, if that's going to be like in the game. And I'm like, I hope it is, but I don't know if it's going to make it.
I'm really hoping they. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead. You're sorry.
I was just gonna say I was hoping they add in like all of the SNK music. Like I really wish also they did it where like you had MP3s, like how Tag 2 does it, and you can actually like plug it in and actually have that play. But really at this point I feel like jukebox should be just like standard practice at this point.
For sure. Yeah.
Me too,
Tekken set a standard, and it's like, oh, this just needs to be the way it is. Tekken and Smash, it's like, yeah, just give us this. Come on.
Like that's why this trailer came out of nowhere. It's like, here's just a big City of Wolves trailer with all these things, and I guess we'll get another one. Maybe not until the launch one. Maybe like for a general trailer for the game, like not the character specific ones, because they threw out a lot of information in the most 90s way as possible with that announcement.
I mean, we could see something else. There's 3 days from now is the 30th anniversary of King of Fighters that they tweeted out, and something special is coming along the way. So maybe
that's going to be a cell phone wallpaper.
It's going to be a hat.
Another mobile game.
Listen,
it's going to be another KOF All-Star.
If SVC Chaos hadn't got re-released, I'd be like, yeah, it's maybe a new collection or like an older game coming out. But because they just did that, I feel like they're not going to do it again so soon. I'd like to be wrong, though.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think in my head, like, what of the classic KOFs have not been like
11.
remastered, re-released? I think almost all of them have, right?
No, like I don't think 11 is available.
Oh, that.
On any
11. So
It's not
the tag one. I was immediately thinking 12, but I'm like, people are going to cry a river. That 12 isn't available. But 11 would make sense, where it's like, yeah, if that was available with like rollback netcode in some way given to Code Mystics, that good call. But like the mega popular ones, like the 94s, the 98s, the UM, the O2s, like all that kind of stuff has had faithful versions that are playable online.
What's your most cursed thing that they could do? Because I have two in my head. What's the most cursed anti thing that they could do to re-release?
What's the like re-releasing? Oh, dang. Yeah, here's King of Fighters 12 remastered HD, Yeah, for sure.
I would say Neo Wave for me.
Exactly.
Neo Wave, the forgotten one, the cursed one.
King of Fighters, yeah. Oh God, what are the PS2 ones?
Maximum Impact.
Yeah, Maximum Impact 1 and 2 collection.
That's hey. Let's back it up there. That's not cursed.
Matt loves these games.
It's not cursed. It's like almost there. I would say cursed is 94 Rebout.
Yeah,
the redrawn one that looks horrible. What do you say?
94 Rebout remaster.
Like that's cursed.
Because the Rebout is just a remake, right? It is a remake.
Yeah.
So they're like remaking the remake.
No, they're just like HDifying. Yeah, a remaster of the remake. Remaster Rebout.
Yeah,
Rebout Master. Anyway, Ruthless, what would be your most cursed SNK re-release?
Yeah, probably just like the Neo Wave as well, honestly. I'd be pretty stoked for that. And maybe KOF 94. I think it would look pretty ugly.
Yeah, I think if you just re-released like 94, just regular 94, people are like, oh. I get it. It's the 30th anniversary of KOF, but that'd be a little
it's
bit
what
of a letdown.
started it all.
Yeah, it all started. Exactly.
Yeah, that smoothing effect is really top notch.
But you put that smoothing effect on 94 Rebout, and I can't even imagine, like, people's eyes would just melt out of their heads. And not in, like, the good, like, eye melting way, but the bad eye melting. Because it looked bad on the PS2 back in the day. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people say, like, I would just love 11 so much. Like, 11 is on the PS2. Like, yeah, you can either emulate it or have the hard copy, and that's kind of it. So I don't think that got re-released on, like, the PS3 store or anything, but could be wrong. And it has some of the 11 specifically. I think we've talked about this. 11 has some of the most boring stages in fighting games, or at least SNK. It's just big, empty arenas. And there's like maybe one or two characters awkwardly standing off to the side, and no one looks like they want to be there either. So why don't we like open it up and talk about stages in general? Because Ruthless, your channel does a lot of videos on stages in fighting games. And when I found it, I think I found the video on SVC Chaos. And you helpfully explained how, well, some of these are very empty looking because it's in purgatory, which even though I read the Chinese manhwa on it, on the game. I still didn't get that. It's just not a thing that's explained in game. So when I came from it from that perspective, I was like, yeah, some of these stages they definitely have an aura about them, and I get them now. But and some of them are quite nice, like Forest of Green, of course. But why don't we start with SNK games? Why don't we just talk about what are our favorite ones, like per company, I guess is the best way to do it. So starting with you, Ruthless, what are your favorite SNK stages?
SNK game-wise, like KOF 13 has a lot of really good ones. Of course, that one's like a classic. I also really like the KOF 97 stages, like the Bali stage is really dope. The Monaco stage is also really cool. But yeah, KOF 13 is pretty high up on there because the colors are off the charts, and like the crowd sizes of the SNK games in general are just like jam-packed full of people. So yeah, I would say like 13 for sure.
What about you, Justin?
I don't want to copy Ruthless's answer. I do want to mention King of Fighters 13, the stage where all the big women are just chanting and rooting. Paris.
The French stage.
It's so good, right? It's so good. But I would say for me, in general, 2002 just majority of the stages, they always have like random characters from different SNK franchises. I always found that so amazing and cute. And I like those stages a lot just because I'm like, oh, I know that character, or wait, who is that character? So that's always a treat for me when I see those type of stages.
Yeah, you'll see like someone from like let's say Savage Rain and be like, wait, who's that? Because they pick some obscure ones there for sure. For me, I really like early KOF games like 94, even 95. Like I can't remember now if it's in 94 or 95, but the Italy stage that's on the waterfront and everyone's
that's
like
95.
That's 95. But yeah, they're on the waterfront next to a dock, and like people's feet are half submerged in the water. And like that water looks really good. It's such a bright blue in the sky. I really like that one. The waterfall stage that I think is in either 95 or 96.
That's 95 as well.
Okay.
That's Athena stage.
Yes, that one, the transparency on that water. I remember playing the PlayStation version of that and being like, fighting games are amazing.
Yeah.
It looks super sick. And then...
Sorry. I was just going to say, like, with that water stage you were talking about with, like, KOF 95, like, that stage in particular, Chin actually has a disadvantage on the stage because, when they're, like, jumping in at the very beginning. And so I saw, like, a video or something somewhere of, like, people comparing the speed of them, like, hopping down from the dock into the water. And, like, if you play as, like, Chin and some other character, like, you can actually... Yeah. Oh, Iori, yeah, that was it. You can actually get, like, a hit on them.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
It's a glitched stage.
Glitch. Yes.
Funny.
That happens a lot in those old 90s games.
And there's like one or two Fatal Fury stages I have to give a shout out to, like Krauser's stage at the end of Fatal Fury 2 and Special with the orchestra playing. Like that one's really memorable. I always like Terry's train stages, like across the SNK verse. Probably too many to mention. There's a really underrated again is Kazuna Encounter because it has the stage intros where we start somewhere and the camera pans across something. There's some really cool ones mixed in there, and always like Joe's training stages, like when he has Geese's outfit on his training dummy, and you like because he's been practicing trying to beat up Geese.
Yeah,
like I think that's hilarious. Like all the Real Bout stages are also sublime SNK pixel work. So, I mean, there's even more than that. But Max, what are some of your SNK favorites?
I had to look up the name of it because it's like visually in my head. They're there. But to summarize the ones that I always, whenever I play like Gauro or older games or anything like that, I like city street stages. I like Street Fighter stages in old SNK games where it's literally like they're on a street in the middle of like I think it's Isaka or Osaka or something, where it's just like a cross street and people are walking across and they're like literally fighting in the walking section or some shit. I think that's really cool because there's also cars. I think I like SNK stages when there's cars. I don't get it. Where if you see like old
really good
cars
cars
like driving by or parked and waiting and stuff like that, I think it's so cool to see like retro style like vehicles in classic SNK stages. And the same thing is sort of echoed in the Gauro stage, where it's once again in an underpass. It looks like it's straight out of Akira or something like that. It's what's his name stage?
Freeman.
It's Freeman stage, and you see like the subways or not the subways, but like the trains go by above, and the lighting like catches, and like this is so atmospheric and sick, dude. That's the kind of stuff I love. I love like when you're literally on like Japanese streets, like quite literally designed after the place around where SNK literally works.
Yeah, like Neo Geo Land when you're fighting outside like the arcade or whatever. But
yeah, stuff like that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, in CVS1, they have a really cool one where like you fight it half in and then half outside the arcade and it's raining. Or
and
like,
it's got the Samurai Showdown guy just in a business suit.
Yeah, he's just chilling. Yeah, and then there's like that Ninja Kids Mark of the Wolves stage, which is dope because he creates like a traffic accident in the stage. That was
Okuto Maru,
Okay, now that you mentioned CVS1, okay, well maybe we can hop to Capcom then a little bit, because CVS1 has like one of my all-time favorites, which is of course the Metro City stage with the lighting on you so that you see your shadows.
We can just talk about CVS1 for the whole podcast.
Yes, CVS1
we had a CVS1 episode, but yeah, no, like all of those. Like it's weird because it's like everyone kind of goes, well, around that time, like, 99, 2000, 2001, Capcom's arcade division to do sprite work and stuff wasn't quite as good because, people had left or, whatever it may be. But stages were on point. Like even the 3D stages in like CVS 2 or Marvel 2 were still like inventive in what they did. But it was just amazing what they're able to do with sprite art still in CVS 1, like every CVS 1. Like the traffic accident where it has the fire and everyone has the rim lighting. Like,
so that stuff is what makes CVS 1 so good, because stages are a huge part of that game's presentation, which is like CVS's arguable top tier Capcom presentation. The reason for that is because it's effectively Capcom interpreting SNK with the stuff that they do, and it's like their own version of it. So the whole point of like, we're going to start you off on a stage, and we're not going to start off with the characters. We're going to start off with some random element of the stage, the crickets in the background, you panning across the street, and it zooms out. Oh, we have two characters here, and they're about to whoop each other's ass. And I'm like, this is so neat, because like SNK games do this, where they like start you off and they give you like a stage beat, and then it's like a reveal of like, we're fighting here. I love it, man. Then the car, like it's starting with a car wreck, and then your post car wreck, and that's where you're fighting. It's like, whoa, were you driving a Honda Civic? Like, and now they're gonna beat each other's ass.
Yeah, I think when we did our CVS, like just CVS 1 and 2 episode, I think we went for a while on the stages because they're so godlike. When I think about Street Fighter 2, like some stages like really, just stick out a little bit, like Chun-Li's stage or, Sagat's and stuff. I have never been a fan, music, yes, but I've never been a fan of Ken's stage that's just on the wharf with the boat. I don't know. I
was about to say Ken's stage is the best stage.
I just don't think it fits Ken very well compared to how the other stages fit the other characters. It's just like a Doc and Ken, like super billionaire playboy. Ken's stage in New Giant Impact, where he has his own yacht at the wharf.
But did Ken
it's got his face on it.
In early 90s, did Ken even have that lore yet? That he's like rich?
Oh,
I'm pretty sure he must have.
I don't really remember him being like the playboy billionaire guy until the movie.
We'd have,
that's true.
We'd have to look up like the Super Nintendo instruction manual.
And to be honest, I think the Doc fits him because he's like generic surfer dude. He's like the whitest version of Ryu that you can possibly imagine, like California surfer guy.
But then a beach with like people partying.
I get it. No, I get you. But also again, Street Fighter 2, is a very amazing game, but it also rips off a ton of shit. And that stage is just from a movie.
Oh, yeah. Like
it's 1-to-1.
Like a Sonny Chiba movie or like a Charles Bronson movie or something like that.
Yeah, and they do
like
that, but to fit, it's like very drab and like gray in the film, but to fit Ken's like, I'm from California, man. Like they clearly just stick him in San Francisco or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember when people used to say that Q was in the background of like his stage. Like, oh my god.
But it's crazy because it really looks like Q. Like it's not like his face is melting. Like it looks like a weird man face.
Even Alex Valle and Nerd Josh is on the boat. Okay.
Turns out he's just ugly.
well, when you think about it, Max, you're kind of telling a story here where you're like almost all of Ken's stages up to a certain point were all boat themed anyway. Because in Alpha 2,
good point.
It's on his yacht, his party yacht, which. When I think about the Alpha series, Alpha 2 sticks out for some of the best stages.
Well,
the ones in Alpha 1, a lot of them are remakes of stages from Street Fighter 1, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like the Great Wall of China, the city street in front of the San, like a little convenience store. But a lot of them don't look or are as inventive as the ones in Alpha 2. Like when I think about Alpha 2, I was like, that's got the grassy field stage from the Street Fighter 2 animated movie. It's got Sakura's stage in the backyard.
Yes.
Like
that's
I'm gonna be real
as well.
There's and 3, Alpha 3, I don't like those stages as much. There's 1 or 2 that I'm like, oh no, this stage is an all-timer.
Yeah.
But a couple of them are just kind of a bit more drab to me.
Like lazy? Yeah.
I'm gonna be real. I think Alpha 2 is by many considerations of OG Street Fighters next to like Super Turbo Third Strike Alpha 2, like kind of one of the ones that hits with casual and hardcore fandom, but it's not just for gameplay, it's for reasons like that. Like music and stages and presentation in Alpha 2 is just so good. Alpha 3 does a lot of other shit that's awesome. And an announcer, all that kind of stuff and character design, like, on-screen visuals. But man, like Alpha 2, the way everything just sort of comes together, it's so sick. And stages is a huge part of that because there's almost no bad stages in the game.
I can't think of one. Like Justin, do you have like any Alpha 2 standouts?
Obviously, besides the Ken one, that's probably most people's favorite.
Everyone loved that one in the collab video. It's
literally the best fighting game stage ever.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's just so many cool references, and they're also in their casual outfit, like Morgan and Strider. Like there's so many cool characters in there. But if I had to choose something else, it'll probably be Guy stage, when there's like reference a lot of Metro City characters.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, I love Birdie's toilet stage, my favorite.
And the toilet stage is actually kind of sick.
How is it sick? It's sick and that's nauseating.
Seeing people in the urinal and everything. Yes, it's so
it's awesome. So weird. It's like, how did we get here? Like what are we doing?
What about you, Ruthless, in terms of alpha stages?
Alpha stages.
Yeah, aside from Ken's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Sakura's house, like the Karasuno residence, is the one that comes to mind. Also, Sanmar is like really cute. There's a lot of references in there to that. But yeah, in regards to like Birdie stage, like I'm sure all the Street Fighter players from England love that their country is like rep by the bathroom, the literal urinal.
Not a shout out, more like a shout down to Chun-Li's stage. Just because the layer of animation of the bikers always fucked with my eyes. Like, nah.
And then you get like the ultimate like classic kung fu stage, which is Gen's. Gen's stage is so alley. Sick, dude. Like the lighting in it.
The reflections in the water.
Yeah, exactly. Reflections and everything. I think the reason why Ken's stage resonates so much is that it isn't just an homage, like, oh, we're just going to put a bunch of characters in the background. Like they sort of do that with the Final Fight stage, and the Final Fight stage is amazing. Get like all the references. You get Cody like looking at the chicks and all that kind of stuff. It's so sick. The thing I think that does it for a lot of people is the story. is the fact that Ken is literally celebrating Eliza's birthday, and he invited all of his Capcom friends, and they're in their board shorts and shit. And it's like, that's so cool. Like, it's so cool that all these characters are here to celebrate Ken's wife's birthday, and Ken's gonna also whoop the shit out of somebody on his own boat.
Yeah,
I guess
even without the... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, for Ken's stage, like, even if they remove the cameos, I still think it would be a really good stage because, like, you still have little details where, like, Eliza's reacting to the matches you play, like, if you play as Ken. So, yeah, it's just really solid.
It's crazy to think that, like, Eliza and Ken are friends with the human version of Lord Raptor from Darkstalkers. It's like,
Why
this
not?
is amazing.
Or even just Felicia or Lynn Kurosawa is here too.
Like, these are all Ken's friends. Like, that's so cool to me.
I like it's his Capcom friends. Like, it's friends he knows from work, you know? You know what's an underrated stage now that I think about it from Alpha 1? It's that, because when Max said, like, I like street stages where people are just watching, it's that one where it's just a massive crowd of people and it's all green.
Charlie stage.
Yeah,
Charlie
yeah. That one's really sick. I don't know why. It's because, like, there's so much individual characters that were drawn in the background, and it's so, like that's what an actual fight would look like.
Yeah.
More than a lot of other stages.
I love the idea of the stage. I just recently fought Psycho Akuma, like Alpha 1 boss Akuma on that stage. The only thing that breaks apart about it is that the crowd is massive. Like, these people are 8 feet tall. Like, they're
that's
like the
true.
scaling of the stage, they didn't figure that out as well yet, and they get it better in Alpha 2.
Yeah. But yeah, like Alpha 3, there's, like, I like the Metro City stage where it's like a really neat perspective. You're under that bridge, but it's not as fun as the Metro City stage in Alpha 2 with all the cameos. I think there's, like, Hugo or Andores in there, and that's kind of it. And there's definitely some standouts there, like the Skull stage, the Bison stage with the forest, you know.
Yeah.
And Charlie's stage is that the one with the jet that's actually taking off in Alpha 3, or is that in Alpha 2?
That's the Charlie stage in Alpha 3 is a hangar with a jet. Alpha 2 is a Harrier jet that is literally taking off and, like, surveying the fight, and there's, like, not Macy's in the background. There's drink Poke, and it's, like, not Coke. It's, like, obviously, like, all the references to marketing, 90s marketing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe an unpopular opinion, but, like, the music in Alpha 3, I never really vibe with it. I know a lot of people really like it, and, like, maybe this is just the me thing, but I do like Bison's theme. Maybe it's like Stockholm.
It's the best theme.
Because I played him so much. But
you completely nail it. All you're doing is reinforcing the thought process I've had since I was in the 90s, was that, like, Alpha 3's cool, but man, that Bison song though, dun dun dun, it's like, it's the coolest thing in the world.
We were spoiled by Alpha 2 because the music in Alpha 2 slapped so hard.
Yeah. There's some good Alpha 3 tracks, but they're not, like, it's not as consistent of an OST as Alpha 2 is. Like, it's good. I've used it in a bunch of videos, but, like, always, like, refer to Alpha 2 in terms of music.
Yeah.
I need to talk about Street Fighter 3 because we're going through eras a little bit, just because that showed a huge break for Capcom backgrounds. They had those crazy skewed perspectives because you had super jumps.
Yeah.
They had to show a lot more of the stage. I loved most of Third Strike stages. There's, like, 1 or 2 I'm like, whatever. Like, the Russia stage is kind of like nothing, you know?
Necros, yeah.
Yeah. I love Alex's Street Fighter 3 Second Impact stage, the one that's on the rooftops of Brooklyn.
Oh, the brick wall graffiti stage.
With the brick wall graffiti, because it's so fucking America.
Yeah.
That, like, you can barely handle that. And I was really sad when Street Fighter 3 Third Strike Online Edition had all the DLCs for the colors.
Yeah.
But
and
really
stages weren't
wanted
included.
DLC for stages.
Yeah.
I was like, just let me mix and match because I love these Second Impact stages.
From what I understand, they wanted to do it, but they didn't have the budget.
Because I also love Hugo's stage in Germany, where it's like people are just in Oktoberfest mode.
Oh yeah, there's like a giant,
nuts.
they're like in a dock with a huge ship in the background, and it's amazing.
Like there's lots of good ones there, but who has standouts from the Street Fighter 3 era?
I know no one remembers this because it was like in the first version of it, but like Ryu's bathhouse stage is really cool,
Yep.
and I think Lin from Alien vs Predator is there too.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think
So
so.
that one's really dope.
Oh wow. Okay.
Lynn
Isn't
and
a
Shun
bear-
are like taking a bath in the
Isn't
top
a
stall
bear
or whatever.
washing itself? I think there's a bear somewhere that's like chilling out. Like,
Oh no,
just
there's
taking
a
bath as
giant
well.
bear standing up.
I think
Okay, that's
so.
what it is. Yeah. Okay. What about you, Justin?
I think two stages for me. One, Hugo and Third Strike. I just love that big parrot. For some reason, it was like a mutant parrot in the background with a huge bird cage and just food all over the place. But probably my favorite is it's probably because the music too is Ryu's Suzaku Castle. That for some reason, like the stage and the music, really
Yeah.
kills it with the drums and everything. I feel like, damn, it makes sense that this is the stage.
I said Alex, but now I have to say Elena's Third Strike.
Thank you.
stage.
I was just about.
Kinda.
I was about to say actually Elena's New Generation / Second Impact, Kenya, because it's you fight on a bridge and the bridge collapses and you like fall down. It's so sick.
See, that's some of the stuff I missed in Third Strike where they didn't have those. Like it only happened in what, 1 or 2 stages at most, like Elena's and maybe somebody else's. Or was it just Elena's?
I think it's only Elena's from my understanding.
That's Street Fighter 3 1 and 2.
Marvel Superheroes has that.
Had
Yes.
tons of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, if Max, do you have like another one aside from Elena's or?
Dang. I think most of the stages in New Generation and Second Impact are cool. I do like most of them. The issue with me is that a lot of the Third Strike stages take up so much headspace, but even they have less interactive elements. They actually like remove a lot of the people, like a lot of the agency from a lot of those stages. Like if you notice in a lot of previous Street Fighter stages and Street Fighter 3 New Gen Second Impact, people are paying attention to the fight. In Third Strike, they sort of stop that.
not.
People don't give a
They're
shit.
tired.
There's like just dudes
They've
eating,
seen
like
this
their
before.
tables
Tired.
bouncing up and down as Chun-Li is fighting on the Chun-Li stage. There's like literally
Yeah.
tables in the way of combat. They make it so that, oh, this just happens. They just always meet up here and do this at 4:00 every single day. So it's a funny take on how like the stages feel and how they're different in Street Fighter 3. And I sort of like that. I think it's sort of neat that, whoa, the stages, character street fighting is a normal thing in this universe and everyone's just like ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, and a good example is it's Sean or the Brazil stage in Third
People just keep
Strike
working.
Is people just throwing sacks of flour or like produce in the back of a truck versus in Second Impact where there's a huge calamity and a bunch of fruits have fallen out of the back of a truck and everyone's
Yes.
going, oh no.
And it's like-
some people are watching the fight, but
Yeah, like the world stopped because these two teenagers are kung fuing the shit out of each other in the middle of the street. In Third Strike, the day continues. It's really funny.
Yep.
like
It's a normal thing.
And the other thing is that I didn't like how in Third Strike people shared stages, so you got less of them.
Yeah.
As good as a lot of them are, but it's like fighting Oro in a random warehouse dock where they're loading stuff versus fighting Oro in a weird cave with a bunch of his animal buddies.
All of his dogs and cats.
Like that's so much cooler. But still sticking with Capcom, but I think we moved from Street Fighter 3 because Justin mentioned it. Marvel just versus games. Max's head snapped. He knows what's up. But yeah, versus games. I'm sure you guys have some definite opinions on what's your favorite versus stage.
It's just too many.
They're thinking about it.
Let's
That's
focus it down
tough.
to a game. Like
Okay.
let's do like one game and then we can think
X-Men.
about that.
X-Men versus Street Fighter.
Good call. Okay.
Mall stage for me.
Yeah, Mall Stage is amazing in X-Men VSF and MSH VSF. I think when I think of the entire Versus series, the game that sticks out to me the most is MVC1. And the biggest reason behind it, not every stage is like super exciting. You get like the Mega Man stage, but you sort of get general stages where you're just like on a cliffside in the middle of like a desert. And the color design on these stages, like the way we light rocks, dude, and the sky in the background, I just love it, man. It looks so cool. I think MVC1 stages do a lot for me just in terms of like color design, which is why I love MVC1. It's the colors of that game.
Yeah, I think MVC1 has like by far like the best aesthetic actually in the like the MVC series in general.
Thank you. I completely agree.
But yeah, the E-Honda bathhouse to me kind of stands out as well.
That's the best stage.
You see like the guy like drying his bare ass
Just
and you can break through the wall.
Yeah.
And you can see like Sakura
The women's
in there.
room.
Yeah.
I really like Savage Land in X-Men versus Street Fighter. Like just the forest, the jungle background.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I guess I'm the only one because that stage.
I was thinking of a Danger Room stage, and I was like, well, is that Coda? No. I know what you're talking about. It's the very foresty one. Yeah.
There's a jungle one. Then there's the really. Wait, am I mixing up? There's a foresty one. So like one giant tree in the middle.
You're right. No, you fight in a tree, like literally in a massive tree for some reason.
Okay.
It's at night, right, or something like that.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, no, that's one. I think the jungle one's from something else.
I don't really remember that stage.
I think there's dinosaurs in the background or something, like, but not big. Like they're small.
Is there? Huh.
Throw a dinosaur in any background, I will like it. Like the stupid dinosaur background in Street Fighter Cross Tekken is just they're they're robots. I forget.
I think for me, for X-Men Street Fighter, it's the last stage after you beat Apocalypse when you fight the 1v1.
Everybody's in the tubes.
When you super jump, everyone's in the tube, and you can hit the tubes, and the glass shatters, and it breaks, and you kind of free the mutants, the trapped mutants. So, for me, I would say it's that one.
That's a good one. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. How are we feeling? Because some of these stages are divisive. Some people don't like.
Hated them.
A few of them.
Circa the year 2000, Maximilian hated them. Couldn't stand them. Like these stages suck. They're so bad. Flash forward 2010 and beyond myself. Oh, I love them. I love these stages. Everything in MVC2 grew on me over time. I didn't like the music.
You like the clown stage?
I love the music's a big part of it, right? But like the celebration aspect of the clown stage, that's one of my favorite stages in the game, next to Clock Tower.
What a clown. I still don't like the New York stage, because if you did not tell me that was the New York stage with the big like guy with the whatever it is, the big mascot guy that's like just moving back and forth.
Oh, CVS 2.
Oh, the CVS 2?
Oh, yeah, the American beer chugging
The drink
dude.
Beer guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't blame you. They look very similar.
Because that one, jumping to that one is like you couldn't even tell me that's New York. I'm like, I wouldn't have known. It's not very New Yorky, is it? Like upon first glance, but
it says drink beer, so I got the idea. Where we are.
It's wearing like an American flag shirt.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but the colors are very muted. The lighting in that stage is kind of muted, so it doesn't stick out.
It's true.
Well to me
What they really needed to do was to get the big animatronic guy a gun, and he just shoots it. And he drinks beer, and he shoots the gun.
No, but actual for Marvel vs. Capcom 2, for me, pirate ship stage.
Oh, the airship stage. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Such an aesthetic. What I appreciate about MVC2 is with so little technology, really. Like this is like very early on Capcom in-house 3D efforts on their fighting game division. Because again, like a reminder, Capcom 3D fighting games were outsourced. They were done by a different company. They were done by Eureka. So this is like the first time Capcom is dabbling its toes into like a lot of that 3D-ness around the late 90s with Project Justice and Star Gladiator and Rival Schools and stuff. So for them to pull off like those level of visuals on like, oh, the stages just look so good. Like the choices of color, the cavern stage with the crazy like skull, the crazy skull cavern. I'm like, this is so sick looking. Like, it's so simple is what I think I like about it. It's MVC2 stages are simple but effective.
Yeah, I will say with some of like the MVC2 stages, they're definitely still figuring out like the blend of 2D and 3D assets, because like they have these like 2D rats crawling on the floor, and one of the
so they're flat,
like the shipyard stage, and they're like super flat. But yeah, I used to hate the music in MVC2, but I've kind of come around to it after just listening to it so much, because it's kind of like Stockholm syndrome. But for me, my favorite stage in that game is like the Sansan stage, because that's actually a reference to like Journey to the West, which is kind of like a Chinese mythology thing. And like all the stages kind of like tell a story where like Ruby Heart's going on this journey to like save the world or something like that. And it's all like very subtly done, but I think it's really well it's well put together. And the Abyss Cave, in like my headcanon, like that's the entrance where you actually go down to fight Abyss afterwards in like the next stage.
Oh, that's a good. Damn, I didn't even put that together. That like the cavern with the skull cave is where they enter the Abyss Cave, where you get to the pillars and all that weird stuff where he's down there. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you only play in that level right before you fight Abyss, so it makes complete sense there.
Oh, is it actually canonically and sequential like that?
Stage 6. Yeah, that was stage 6. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
It's crazy where you get like for arcade games where there's like no story. It's like we got to fit story in somewhere.
You figure it out. Use your imagination.
These are the things where it's like, what does the red letter media say? Where it's like you don't realize you're paying attention to this stuff, but your brain does. Like this is the stuff that your brain picks up on. This is why people like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like these things that are subconsciously firing that they don't shove in your face, but you're kind of picking up on it and why there's kind of a story, but I don't really know what's happening. They're there. It's just that you really got to pay attention.
Yeah, I think like Ruby Heart has to like save the plants or like I think that's kind of roughly the story, but
it's something like that. She's the main character, right?
She's the main character.
Really.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like her ship is on the dock, like in the shipyard stage, and then you actually like take off on the ship, and it's like in the air or on the water. So you could see like it's a journey happening throughout multiple days.
Why there's a massive clown laughing at you, I don't know.
That I don't know.
That one is definitely an outlier, but
we might have to rapid fire through a few series because I just two popped in my head. So we have to talk about Darkstalkers.
Oh God!
And before anyone says it, Fetus of God.
Let's just jump straight to Vampire Savior, right?
Jump straight to Fetus of God. But because someone has to mention it. But my actual thing, because I was playing Darkstalkers, just going through the old games not too long ago. The actual stage I think is the sickest. I think it's in Night Warriors. So when you're on the side of the building, that
really cool.
That like as a kid, I didn't understand it. I thought it was a crazy dimension. Like I thought it was like an MC Escher painting. Like I thought it didn't make sense. But now looking at it, over the years and decades, I guess, I was like, no, they're just on the side of a building and there's a bunch of cops down there, like cars driving around looking up. And that's so cool. And I don't think that's like been in anything else, like having a fighting game stage of that crazy perspective. And when you think about it in 2D, that's even more insane for them to design it.
And it really wouldn't fit in many other fighting games because the Night Warriors are unique characters, right? They're mythological creatures and stuff. They're ghosts, they're vampires. They'll be able to walk on the side of buildings. They don't care about perspective and gravity and stuff. Yeah. That whatever the fight takes place, it can take place. It can take place while a god is being born in the background, all that kind of stuff.
Right. I always thought that stage was like a space station for whatever reason, but I feel like every fan has that one moment where they're like, oh shit, like it's actually on the side of a building. It's
like a 3D eye picture. You're like, oh God, we're up here. Okay.
Do you have a favorite Darkstalkers stage, Justin? Any that stand out?
Which one is the... It's a Sasquatch stage where there's a bunch of Sasquatches everywhere.
The igloo stage.
Is that Night Warriors?
I think that stage was in both, the first two, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a Night Warrior stage where you're in like Sasquatch Village or something like that, and they're like little igloos, and there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
that
my favorite
Canada?
one.
I
love
that's what Canada looks like.
Stuff. Yeah, I love the cutesy stuff. Those are my favorite stages.
Darkstalkers its stage design shares so much with Pocket Fighter.
Yeah.
I find.
And I was just about to mention Pocket Fighter because like if we're gonna talk about like reference stages, Pocket Fighter might be like the actual chef's kiss.
It's the reference, because that's all about cameos, even more than like other crossover games.
To add to the Pocket Fighter thing, I recently played through the PlayStation 1 version of that game because my chat told me there's some special stuff in here stage wise. There's an endless mode in Pocket Fighter only on the PlayStation 1 version, and I think maybe the Saturn. and it's like a scrolling stage with even more references that are in the game normally. So there's like a ton of characters. There's like Zero and Mega Man X and all this stuff when you walk through it.
Wow, I didn't know that. Man, that's
and it's like you have to, in order to, the reward is continuing to see the stage go and looking at the cameos. So it's like, yeah, you beat the characters and they move right and the stage scrolls. You beat that and move right. So you have to beat like 10 fights in a row to actually see the full stage envelop.
Yeah, I think at the end you fight Akuma, I believe, and like they have like Mega Man Volnut. There's like little posters of Felicia up on the wall, like trying to be like a pop idol. There's like a lot of like obscure references to like games like Breath of Fire and Quizninero Dreams or whatever it's called.
Yeah, there's a lot of like that era.
Wild.
I didn't even know about this mode at all. Like, because I only ever play the arcade version of Pocket Fighter. Because why would you play the PlayStation? There's a reason. But yeah, any other Darkstalkers stage before we move on? Just because, like, you know, there's got to be like a couple that
the train stage is good in
the mouth train.
The mouth train.
Oh Christ! Yeah. Holy
that
crap!
was super good.
But just yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna add like my favorite's Vanity Paradise. I know it's not one that like people talk about a lot, but that's the one where it's like Chinese heaven. And there's like a blue version and then like a pinkish orange version.
Oh, yeah.
Like that one's super aesthetic. It's like, Chinese heaven, basically.
The problem with Darkstalkers is that you can honestly say almost any stage because they're so themed to the characters, like even more than like a Street Fighter game, right? Because they have to go so over the top. So Rikio's Alabast stage is like the most like Amazon rainforest,
like right?
A swamp, like Victor's stage with like his ghost creator like flipping around all the electrodes. But yeah, we listen. This is the TripleKO podcast. You may have noticed we have not talked about KI for over an hour, so now it's time to talk about Killer Instinct.
We talk about old KI or new KI? What do we do?
Let's do quickly old KI.
All right,
because I think that even if it wasn't our bias. If let's say that wasn't a factor of it, you have to mention it because they did like certain stages, almost all of them did that really cool thing of like, is this 3D?
Yep.
Is it 2D? Because it mixed both together.
Huge shout out to Kevin Bayless with that early 90s technology. They figured out like how to turn stages into actual perspective scrolling. So when the characters move from left to right, right to left, the stages aren't just like flat. No, they will change perspective, which is just like, I don't know how many frames are technically in there, but it just goes frame to frame to frame to frame. And as characters move left and right, you actually see things move with you. It's incredibly cool. And it's like, it's just a trick. It's just a Disneyland ride of like mimicking 3D without it being 3D.
Like even the rooftop stages are doing that in some form. Like when the platform that you're on is spinning around, I still think it's like it's a trick, a lie, a deception.
That shit of it's like, oh, we're starting on the top of a building, but we're starting from a helicopter view, and it's gonna spin in on our characters. When I first saw that, I was like, what the hell is going on, dude? Like that shit was mind blowing. That they're sort of like 3Ding but 2Ding their stages in some way. The effect is like weird because the characters are not 3D, so they just stay. They look like old trees in games. They just don't even move. They don't even rotate. But like it's so striking to look at.
If I could pick a favorite, I just remember loving Thunder's stage where it's that suspension bridge.
Yes.
All the eagles flying around super fast around like a burning sun. The music, like all the stages are pretty good. I think there's like, I don't really care for Saberwolf's. It's like almost a little too on the nose. It's just like, the inside of a creepy mansion. I prefer as one in KI2, just more visually interesting. But like that's one, and there's so many rooftop stages, and of course, pit fatalities like are worked in very well, not overly violent. Some of them are funny. But yeah, that's it for me. Do Ruthless and Justin, do you have one from original old KI?
Not to steal your answer, but mine's also Thunder's Bridge.
Yeah, okay.
Because you know how the bridge is moving with the characters, and then in the Xbox version, it actually like remakes it in like amazing fashion, and the weather gets more and more intense as the fight goes on. But like admittedly, like I think the older KI games is kind of like my blind spot because I've only mostly just played like the Xbox one.
Right.
I have a weird KI deep cut of the older stages. and there's like a big comparison. Are we talking N64 stages? Or are we talking KI2?
I don't think N64 stages.
And if we're going to say the best versions, and it's always like the first stage you fight in KI2 is Orchid Stage. KI2 Orchid Stage with the big old jet in the background and the explosive barrels and the music and everything. It's like, oh, this stage is so cool. But I have a personal, I'm a huge fan of Jago's KI2 stage, which is another bridge that's over like a massive chasm with like mountains in the background and the Tibetan sort of music and stuff. It's like, oh, this is so cool. So I think bridges are a common like big KI-ism where they're like, they like using bridges a lot.
But even if not KI, let's just say in fighting games in general, don't fight on a bridge.
Don't fight on a bridge. That seems dumb.
That seems like one of you is going to die, like lose the match, not even because of the match, because you're on a bridge. That's super dangerous.
That's super dangerous.
Yeah. Fulgore's KI2 stage is also really cool with like everything being made. It's like in a factory. It's a little bit, again, more visually interesting than his other stage, which is just like a catwalk that's in a Donkey Kong Country factory.
Yeah, and it's just like everything's moving and all the lights are shifting and stuff like that. I kind of love the weird simplicity of like, we just got shoved into the side of a Terminator factory, but we're not seeing anything going on. Yeah. That all is exemplified and fixed in the next game in like Double Helix's interpretation of those stages.
So is KI2 Spinal stage? That's when he's in the Ghost Pirate ship.
Yes,
that's a good one.
That's a really good one. I love that.
You hear like the Wizard of Oz chants in the background. I'm like, this is so cool.
So good.
And like the N64 tried its best, but it's like since they're all remade in like full polygonal 3D, it's like it's absolutely doing as best as they can, but everything is just so blurry, so pointy.
Yeah,
like the original arcade stages, like they're in design they're the same, but they just look way more unpolished in KI Gold. But yeah, we have to talk about KI 2013. I think maybe aside from Mortal Kombat, maybe Mortal Kombat, but I don't even think design-wise a lot of Mortal Kombat stages of like recent games, they're gorgeous in terms of visual fidelity, but maybe not has nearly as much going on as any KI stage, because as we know, they all had to be built to have all these interactable and destructible elements to them.
Yes.
So they had to have all this visually interesting stuff going on.
Of which I am deeply familiar with because I had to get all the animation trigger calls for trailers. Yeah. So when you had to zoom in on like snakes in like Maya's stage, like that stuff like that, right? Like those are all triggered from actions and events that are proximity related to the characters of the stages. So those things just don't happen normally. If you had the fight happen on the right, that stuff would never take place. But if the fight takes place, you literally shake the bushes and the snakes come out, you know? So that there's so many interactive elements in KI stages, it's crazy.
I'd rather talk about a stage that I just don't like. It's the one stage I don't like, because all the rest I like or love. And it's just Riptor's stage is just kind of nothing. Yeah, that's the only one.
There was a lot of stuff with like Riptor outside of the character being incredibly cool. The stage and the music that was like just didn't really hit.
It was kind of rushed. I recall something about Mick Gordon saying that was the one track like I didn't have a lot of time to make it, and what I made was like I was not super happy with the music.
Yeah,
and the stage is just like a hatchery of Riptor eggs, but you don't get to see the eggs if you're inside the facility. This is like you're outside and you're kind of on like a mountainside, and that sounds cool, but it's just very dark. It's the same tones everywhere.
Yeah,
a lot of the same lighting, but like every other stage, like Sadira's with the giant spider, Hisako's where it's like all these ghosts of like all these other spirits, and there's lightning going off in the background. Like Ruthless said, Thunder's stage remade in here is more epic, and it has a tornado that goes off, and like you could go on and on about all these stages. Like Gargos's that is just in the heavens.
I'd argue Killer Instinct 2013, shocking, might end up actually having like the best fighting game stages because of all of those interactive elements. Some stages have transitional stuff, some stages have like, you know, like pit fatalities and all those kind of things. Yeah, KI just has all of it. It literally has like stage finishers. It has stage enders, like all these things. And the stages literally are characters. Like they go through transformations from the beginning of the fight to the end of the fight.
Yeah.
The only thing is that I wish like every character actually got their own stages, because like some characters like Rash did not get one.
I know. Rash and Mira and a lot of characters, they ran out of budget.
And Gargos.
That was a choice in season 3-ish to end of 2 to 3, where they chose to make characters over stages. And they just try to like rehash stages for the most part.
Which I'll never not still be like, I want those stages, like Ruthless said, but at the same time, it's like when you see how much work they had to put into them, it's not a simple background.
And they changed. Like the stages went through a massive overhaul in between season 2 to 3, where
it's like lighting and stuff.
The goofy double helix engine that they were working with got completely changed by Iron Galaxy. They had access to more RAM. They were able to use the CPU more, like all that kind of stuff, because it was an ancient engine. And then the lighting on all the stages substantially changed if you look at season 1 of KI compared to season 2 and 3. So it was like 90% of them for the way better.
When the game was first shown and they were demoing how doing an ultra changes the stage.
Oh yeah,
and this is like too. This is in E3 2013. So when they showed like this is what happens when Jago or whoever does an ultra, and the giant bell behind way in the back like crashes, and that giant bell is like the size of a football field, and when it crashes, it's such a thing that's hidden kind of there. You see a bit of it, but it's kind of hidden, but they still had it happen, and you hear like the dong, and I was like,
I can give you a stage bit in early KI development that was incredibly cool about the Jago stage, but they had to like rein it back because they were on Xbox One hardware. This game launched at 720p, by the way. So that stage, when the bell dropped, was way more interactive. They had to remove this element completely. When Jago or you do an ultra on the stage, the same thing happens. Everything blows up. The bell would break, but as it would break, you would hear it crash, and there'd be a giant rope. And this rope would be like, boom, and it would smack into the stage and make this huge like crash before it went down. So you saw this insane effect like go down and whip. And it was like, oh, that's so cool. That's such a cool beat at the end of the fight. And they're like, we had to take it out. it was too taxing.
Quote you on that, Max, eventually when I cover KI.
Yeah, like certain things like that they were too ambitious, and it was too taxing on the little Xbox One.
I mean, Justin, do you have a favorite from 2013?
From what I remember, because I don't remember all the stages, there's
a lot.
It's probably the one matchup that I fought the most, Glacius. Is it the crash site where it's like the ice background,
the giant ship?
That one is so good. Even though I lost to Glacius so many times, that stage was really pretty.
Like I'm just thinking about some of them. I said Gargos earlier. It was because the Conra stage with the portal. That was used as like the narrative device of this is for any crossover character because they came out of the portal. Yeah. So Rash was there. General Ram was there, and one more. Not Gargos. Idol was there. They all three of those characters shared that.
Shared the same stage.
If you count Conra, and Mira used Saberwolf stage, I believe, because Vampire Werewolf. That's the same thing. So a lot of that was maybe God, I was about to say Pyro. Maybe Cinder's stage was like a little too dark and a little too like there's a lot of details that are getting missed there because it's just a bunch of lava and then like a weird science thing attached to like a rock face or something. I was kind of like about that, but like even with that, like when
there's so many good stages that we're completely omitting Spinal stage.
Oh, the stage too.
The Halo stage is amazing.
That was
there's like a war going on.
The Ognos stage where you're fighting in the grotto. There are so many, dude.
Yeah, even Tusk stage
is great.
Okay. Since it has, a pretty big fan base, I think we have to touch on Mortal Kombat before we wrap things up because Mortal Kombat, for me, it's kind of easy. It's like, give me Deadpool or give me the Living Forest in any of its guises. I want to see that. And like MK1 did a pretty cool job with how evil that version looks. But almost all, and the only stages, some of them, the only stages in Mortal Kombat, I'm like, some of them are just, there's nothing to say about them, is like during the 3D era. That has some good ones. There's one that's taking place inside a pirate ship where there's bodies hanging and people like smack into the bodies and you fall off the top of the of where you're fighting and you go down there. When Mortal Kombat 3D stuff did that, it looks really cool. But there's a lot of stages in there also. They're kind of nothing. Like I'm talking about mostly like Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon have more. But like classic Mortal Kombat stages, like in Mortal Kombat 1 to 3 and Ultimate, like it's amazing what they pulled off in like 2 and 3, like making stages looking dark and moody, but with like high contrast with bright colors. Like those stages, a lot of them are like just the flip side of Street Fighter's like bright kind of anime aesthetic a little, and these are like the dark but still colorful and attractive looking stages. They did such a good job back then.
I got a question. How long has it been since we've had the pit? That was not an MK11, was it?
I want to say it. I think it was MK10.
MK11.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I think MKX was the last time we had the pit, and it's also not an MK1.
Sorry, MKX is what I meant. Yeah, I believe
the
so.
pit
I
was
don't
the
think it
last time where you see the characters fight in the background. Yeah, holy crap.
What about in a conquest mode in MK11?
Good point.
Sorry, not conquest. Crypt.
It was,
Crypt.
It's in the crypt.
It's in the arcade stage on the projector, like as well.
Yeah,
That counts.
they reference it.
yeah.
But
That's what I was talking about when I said MK11.
Yeah, it being a
Okay.
fully playable stage has not happened since MKX.
Yeah, that was the last time.
In that same regard, I'm posting my favorite MK stage of all time is the Cove from Mortal Kombat X.
Oh yeah, I've seen you talk about that.
I love the waves in this stage. The fact that bodies come up and you can throw the bodies. Like there's a stage fatality here that's amazing.
I always forget about that stage fatality. Like I always do. When I
it's
see
kind
it
of
again, I'm
weird
like,
to
holy
do.
shit.
But yeah, like I love the look of this stage so much.
I remember on Twitter, Ed Boon actually said that stage and also the pit was his favorite. But for this stage, I think he said it because, like, from a technical standpoint, it was one of the most challenging to execute or something like that.
Yeah.
I saw that tweet too. I remember that specifically.
It's gorgeous. This is also like close to a Spinal stage, you know, like
with the ghost ship,
pretty like sister to it. But yeah, I love the aesthetic of this stage so much.
I think when MK9 came out, that was like the first time where I was like, holy shit, they went into overtime on working on some of these stages. And then the one that stands out to me is that one that's like on a waterfront, but it was like a battle had just happened there. It was like an outworld. And it was like a bunch of arrows were in the ground. There was like burning castles in the background. You fight Katana there in the story mode, if I recall. And the other one that stands out is Goro's throne room in MKX when he's or was it in MK? No, it was MK11, right? Goro's throne room where he's dead.
where his body's in the background.
Yeah, that one
MK11
has
some
weird
really
vibe.
good stages, dude. Like, it sort of gets thrown around because people didn't like some of the gameplay, but man, like the ship one also, where there's like the blood ocean in the background. I'm like, this is an amazing stage.
I mean, I think it's just because their graphical engine improves so much between MKX and then Injustice 2 and then MK11 that like they're just like, okay, well, this has to extend to the backgrounds as well. Like anything that has like a lot of stuff going on, like you remember they're making the Kotal Khan like statues and there's all these people working in the background.
Yeah,
like,
because he's the new Khan. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's also really good storytelling in stages. Like there's not just people watching the fight or just being a big arena like a Shao Kahn arena. Like here's a story thing is happening in the background, and MK does that every so often. Like there's some stages there's not much going on there. One stage I didn't like in MK11 just because it's kind of nothing is that desert stage that just has the turret that's just shooting random things. Like that's it. That's the stage.
There's also a stage in MKX, which is like you almost get the stages confused because they have the one that's the building of the Khan, and then they have another one which is like a market that's right down the street,
Yeah.
And that's where you
my
can throw
favorite
Blanche.
one.
You like the
That's my
Blanche
favorite
one.
That stage is
I
cool
just
because
like-
of
I like-
Blanche.
I like throwing Blanche. Yeah,
Yes.
that's why I like it.
Blanche is the highlight of the stage, but the stage is like
100%.
kind of nothing. It's just like, oh, there's some vendors in the background, I guess, and they're just chilling.
How do you guys
But,
feel
you know,
about
she-
MK1? Because I feel like it changed the tone significantly to like something more like colorful and bright, which I really personally like, but I don't know if it really fits the tone of MK as a whole.
I think
like I'd like to live
Universe.
in those stages. Yeah. It's,
So I
well, that's
agree with
fair.
you again. I think MK1 tonally is very weird. You have these characters being like mad polite to each other a lot of the times, and then they like rip their ass out through their mouth. And I'm like, this is kind of a weird game. And it's the same thing with stages where it's like, we're going to make these absolutely beautiful stages, you know, like gorgeous, and sometimes like really body horror stages in some ways where it doesn't really feel like it balances that super well. Like it doesn't manage to be like mad creepy with like the beauty of it. I feel like, for example, like the Living Forest is probably one of the coolest stages in that game because the Living Forest and the Dead Forest as well is really sick looking.
I think there was like a story thing that they weren't revealing that there were like really fucked up, scary stages, like up until the game was about to launch. Because all we were seeing were those nice temples.
Everything was pretty.
Like
Johnny
everything was pretty.
Cage's.
Very-
Johnny Cage's, yeah, that is a great stage, regardless of because it fits for him. Because very few characters in Mortal Kombat get their own stage anymore.
Yeah.
right. It's so Johnny having that's great. But it's like then they revealed like, oh, there's these evil versions of each, not of every stage, but a couple had like the evil variant, like because of story reasons. So like, and lately I've been seeing in trailers, I'm like, oh, did they add 1 or 2 stages in the game? I think they must have, because there's stages in like current stuff. Like maybe I'm thinking of Chaos Reigns, but I'm like, oh, some new stages are coming in. Those look a bit more Mortal Kombat-y, where they're like dark and some crazy stuff's happening. For me in MK1, the one that stands out kind of the most is I guess the Living Forest. Like I said, that's when like it's green fire bursting out of like their faces.
Yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah.
Like that's super cool. But I wish there would be guest character stages. Like you could do some crazy things with that depending on your character. Like just you know, no one got any except from Kratos.
Yeah.
Kratos is the only guest character in
Wait,
Mortal
in
Kombat.
9?
Yeah.
He got
Yeah,
it?
I don't
Kratos
think
was the only
Freddy-
character. I think Kratos
It's like
is still
where he
the,
fights Zeus.
yeah.
at the
You're
end of God of
literally
War
it's the
3.
final boss area of God of War 3 is the stage in PS3 MK9. I think that is the only guest character in MK history, the game that's literally known for guest characters, that has a stage. MK11 didn't get any.
Yeah, with MK11, like they should have done one for Terminator because they made that whole area with his like fatality and the like he goes into the future
Yeah.
or whatever. Like
Yeah.
they could have easily just done that.
Imagine you got to fight there where your fight like Skynet is taking over. That'd be so
I keep
sick.
getting reminded about the presentation of MK11. It's off the hook. Like the way that game looks and is presented, like again, a game that I don't love to play, but Jesus, dude, they literally destroyed it in terms of presentation. It's so good. And it kind of shows you like the difference of that with MK11 being a very different game tonally and, you know, trying to balance all these elements. I think MK1 is like the perfect balance.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we can kind of wrap it up there. But I honestly feel like, you know, we didn't touch upon Tekken, we didn't touch upon Soul Calibur and a Virtua Fighter. So we could do this again, I'd say in the future
A
easily.
3D part 2.
3D part 2.
3D part 2.
Miss Ruthless, where can people find you on the internets?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'm just BabeRuthless on YouTube, and my channel, like Matt mentioned, just covers a lot of like fighting game topics besides the actual fighting. So like just like miscellaneous random crap, like I don't know, like the history of like collector's editions and fighting games and stuff. But yeah, that's where I post. And thank you guys so much for having me on.
No problem. I also recommend people to check out specifically your video on fighting game spin-offs, like non-fighting game spin-offs. Because that one had several games I thought I knew. I know all of them. No, you found several. I was like, I had no idea this existed. And it's what spurred me to play like the King of Fighters Kyo, not dating sim, Holy shit! I would love a Kyo dating sim.
Jeez, digging it up
the
here,
Is it
visual-
bro.
dating sim? Okay.
No. I mean the visual novel for the PlayStation. That one because that was really fun. I had
Matt
to play
reaching
in
deep
Spa-
into the trenches.
I know, right?
So that was a
Yeah.
really good video and very, very extensive. So,
Yeah, I didn't even get all of all of the non-fighting game spin-offs in there. I forgot about the Eternal Champions one, so whoopsies. Next time.
everyone forgets about Internal Champions, except now we're getting a movie. Who asked for this?
We're gonna get a Disney Plus series about Eternal Champions. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait.
We're gonna get a new Eternal Champions before we get a new Virtua Fighter. Sorry, Max. Anyway, that is it for Quadruple KO. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.